The council chamber was silent except for the soft breathing of 20 different alien species. Ambassador Hana stood in the center of the massive circular room, her hands clasped behind her back. Above her, holographic displays showed trade routes and economic data. Around her, the alien council members sat in their specialized chairs, each designed for their unique body types. Hana had given this speech 3 times before. Each time the answer was the same, but she had to try again. "Honorable council members," she began, her voice steady. "Humanity requests expanded trade access to the inner systems. We offer advanced medical technology, agricultural innovations, and engineering expertise. We ask only for fair commerce and friendship." The Velthir council member Ixthar shifted in his seat. His blue skin seemed to pale even further. His 3 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of nervousness. When he spoke, his translator device made his words sound thin and worried. "Ambassador Hana, we respect your people's achievements. Truly we do. But you must understand our position." He paused, looking at the other council members for support. "Your species comes from Earth, a Class 12 Deathworld, the highest danger classification we have ever recorded." Hana kept her expression neutral. She had heard this before. Ixthar continued. "Your planet's gravity is twice what most of us can survive. Your atmosphere has enough oxygen to be toxic to 4 species in this room. Your world has predators that hunt in packs, natural disasters that can destroy cities, and diseases that evolve faster than any other planet we have studied." A Quarren council member, small and reptilian, added her voice. "And your people hunted those predators for sport, with primitive weapons." Her tail twitched with fear. "You evolved surrounded by death, and it made you into what?" Hana asked quietly. "Into Deathworlders," Ixthar finished. "Your bones can withstand impacts that would shatter ours. Your healing abilities are impossible by our medical understanding. You feel pain but continue fighting. Your children are stronger than our warriors. We have seen your military demonstrations. A single human soldier can defeat 10 of our best fighters without weapons." Hana wanted to argue, but she knew the facts supported their fears. Humans were different. Evolution on Earth had made them tough in ways that terrified species from gentler worlds. "We have never attacked a coalition member," Hana said. "In 47 years of membership, humans have followed every law, respected every treaty, and helped wherever we were allowed." "Why do you still fear us?" An Ashanti council member spoke up. His voice was deep and rumbling. "Because fear is not about what you have done. It is about what you could do. 1 human ship has more firepower than 10 of ours. 1 human soldier can survive wounds that would kill any of us. You are kind now, but power corrupts. What happens when you decide we are in your way?" Hana felt frustration building in her chest, but she pushed it down. Anger would only prove their point. Instead, she bowed slightly. "I understand your concerns. I ask that you consider our request. We want only to be treated as equals, not as threats." The vote was quick, 20 votes against, 0 in favor. Again, as Hana left the chamber, she felt the weight of failure on her shoulders. In the corridor outside, she pulled out her communication device and called Commander Day. His face appeared on the small screen, scarred and serious. Behind him, she could see the bridge of his ship, the Indomitable. "Let me guess," he said. "They said no." "They said no," Hana confirmed. "Same reasons as always. We're too dangerous, too strong, too scary." Commander Hyun Dae had commanded the Human Defense Fleet for 12 years. He was a veteran of the Border Wars, a conflict with pirates that had killed his wife and daughter 20 years ago. The scars on his face were from that battle, when he had fought hand-to-hand in a damaged ship to save his crew. He had won, but the cost had been high. "How much longer do we have to prove ourselves?" Day asked. His voice was calm, but Hana could hear the frustration beneath it. "I don't know," she admitted. "Maybe forever." On the bridge of the Indomitable, Day ended the call and looked at his second-in-command, Lieutenant Tae Yang. The young pilot was leaning against a console, arms crossed. At 28, Tae Yang was one of the best fighter pilots in the fleet. He was also one of the most outspoken. "They're idiots," Tae Yang said bluntly. "We could have helped them with the asteroid mining operations in Sector 7. We could have provided security for their trade convoys. Instead, they keep us locked out here in the outer territories like we're criminals." "Watch your tone, Lieutenant," Day said, but without real anger. He agreed with Tae Yang, even if he couldn't say it out loud. Dr. Jiwoo entered the bridge carrying a datapad. She was the ship's chief medical officer, and one of the few humans who had actually worked alongside alien doctors. Her experience made her valuable, and her optimism made her rare among the fleet. "Commander, I've finished the analysis you requested," she said. "Our medical supplies could treat approximately 40,000 alien patients if there was an emergency. Our food stores are compatible with 17 of the 20 coalition species. We could help them if they would let us." Day nodded. "Thank you, Doctor. File the report with Ambassador Hana. Maybe it will help with the next request." "You think there will be a next request?" Taeyang asked. Before Day could answer, alarms began screaming throughout the ship. Red lights flashed on every console. The officer at the sensor station, a woman named Yuna, called out with urgency in her voice. "Commander!" Multiple slipspace signatures detected at the edge of the system. Counting. 80, 100, 150 ships and still increasing. Day was on his feet immediately. "Show me." The main display changed to show the tactical situation. Near Unity 7 station, where the council met, space was tearing open. Ships were emerging, hundreds of them, in a coordinated formation that spoke of military precision. "Identify them," Day ordered. Yuna worked frantically at her console. "Scanning now. Computer is matching against known profiles. Commander, these ships don't match any coalition design. They're not human. They're not anything in our database." Jiwoo stepped closer to the display, her face pale. "Where did they come from?" "Beyond the outer veil," Yuna said. "From the dark space we haven't explored. Computer analysis suggests biological components in the ship hulls. They're partially alive." Taeyang pulled up his own tactical display. "Those formations? That's military. That's an invasion force." Day felt ice in his stomach. "How many now?" 300 and counting, sir. They're still coming through." On Unity 7 station, alarms were also sounding. Ambassador Hana ran through the corridors toward the emergency command center. Alien council members were panicking, their various species expressing fear in different ways. Some were shouting, some were silent. Some were making sounds humans couldn't understand. In the command center, Ixthar was staring at a display showing the growing fleet of unknown ships. His 3 eyes were wide with terror. "What are they?" he whispered. A coalition intelligence officer checked his data. "Our computers found a match. These ships belong to the Krell Dominion. They're an empire from beyond the veil. We thought they were legends, rumors meant to scare children." "What do the legends say?" Hana asked. The intelligence officer's voice shook. "They say the Krell are conquerors. They take slaves. They consume worlds. They have no mercy, no honor, no fear. They are organized like insects but intelligent like us. And according to the old stories, they have never been defeated." Ixthar turned to Hana. The Veltir, who had just voted against humanity, looked at her with desperate eyes. "How many human ships are in the system?" 47, Hana said. "Why?" "Because we have none," Ixthar said. "The coalition has known peace for 3 centuries. We have no military fleet. We have no weapons. We have nothing except civilian security vessels." The intelligence officer interrupted. "The Krell fleet now numbers 500 ships. They're moving toward the inner systems. Population projections estimate they will reach our core worlds in 6 days. If they attack, we calculate nearly 5 billion casualties in the first week." The command center went silent. 5 billion lives. Hana looked at Ixthar, the alien who had called humans too dangerous, too scary, too powerful. Now he was trembling. "You need the Deathworlders," Hana said quietly. Ixthar nodded, his pride broken by fear. "We need the Deathworlders." The emergency meeting took place over secure channels. Commander Day watched his display as representatives from the coalition appeared one by one. Ambassador Hana was there, along with Ixthar and several other council members. They all looked terrified. Subcommander Yuna had spent the last 3 hours gathering intelligence on the Krell. Now she stood beside Day, ready to brief everyone on what they faced. "The Krell Dominion," Yuna began, displaying images of the alien ships, "is an empire we knew almost nothing about until today. What we have learned is not encouraging." She changed the display to show biological scans. "The Krell are organized like Earth insects, specifically like ants. They have a queen who controls everything through a hive mind. Individual Krell are intelligent, but they serve the collective without question." An Ashanti council member asked, "How many are there?" "In their empire, unknown. In this invasion fleet, Current count is 800 ships and holding steady. Each ship carries between 500 and 2,000 Krell warriors. They use biological weapons, swarm tactics, and they have never shown mercy to conquered species. Ixthar spoke up, his voice shaking. What do they want? Slaves, resources, territory, Yuna said bluntly. According to the old records we found, the Krell view other species as tools or food. They will kill anyone who resists and enslave anyone who surrenders. There is no negotiation with a hive mind that sees you as property. The display showed projected invasion routes. Red lines spread across coalition space like blood vessels. If they maintain current speed, they will reach the Tertius system in 2 days. That system has 2.3 billion Quarren civilians. After that, they will hit the core worlds. Our projections suggest 4.7 billion casualties in the first month. The silence in the channel was heavy. These were not soldiers listening to battle plans. These were diplomats and politicians who had never known war. Finally, Ixthar looked directly at Commander Day. Will you help us? Day leaned back in his chair. You just voted against us. Again, you called us too dangerous. Too scary. You keep our fleet locked in the outer territories because you're afraid of what we might do. Now you want us to risk our lives for you? Yes, Ixthar said simply. I know we have been unfair. I know we have been cowards. But please, billions will die. Taeyang, standing beside Day, spoke without permission. Let them see what happens when they don't have the Deathworlders. Maybe they'll appreciate us more. Lieutenant, you're out of line, Day said, but his tone was mild. Part of him agreed. Dr. Jiwoo stepped forward, her eyes bright with emotion. Commander, we can't just let billions die to make a point. Yes, they've treated us badly. Yes, they've been unfair. But we're better than that. We help people. That's what humans do. Is it? Day asked. My wife and daughter died because no one would help us. Pirates attacked our colony, and we called for coalition support. They refused because they were afraid of coming near human space. By the time we could respond ourselves, it was too late. He looked at Ixthar. Where was coalition mercy then? Ixthar bowed his head. I am sorry for your loss. I am sorry for all of our failures. I cannot change the past, but the future depends on your choice right now. Day was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his wife, his daughter, his years of bitterness. Then he thought about Jiwoo's words. We help people. That's what humans do. We'll do it, Day said finally. Not because you deserve it. Not for gratitude or recognition. We'll do it because it's right. Because we can and no one else can. He stood up, his voice growing stronger. But understand this. When this is over, things change. No more treating us like monsters. No more locking us out. We prove ourselves in blood and you will respect that. Agreed, Ixthar said immediately. Whatever you need, we will provide. Day turned to his crew. All hands, battle stations. Prepare for immediate slipspace jump. We're going to war. The human fleet moved like a machine. 47 ships, each one built tough and armed heavy. The Indomitable led the formation, its massive hull bristling with weapons. Smaller destroyers and cruisers flanked it, while fighter squadrons performed pre-flight checks. In the fighter bay, Taeyang climbed into his cockpit. His fighter was customized, painted with kill marks from pirate encounters. He ran through his startup sequence quickly, his hands moving with the confidence of thousands of flight hours. The pilot next to him, a woman named Bora, called over the radio. Think we can win this, Tay? We're human, Taeyang replied. We don't lose. The fleet jumped to slipspace, crossing light years in minutes. They emerged in the Tertius system, just as the first Krell ships were entering orbit around the inhabited planet. Day studied the tactical display. The Krell fleet in this system numbered 214 ships. His fleet was 47. The math was simple and ugly. They outnumber us almost 5-1, Yuna said quietly. Then it's a fair fight, Day replied. He opened a channel to the Krell fleet, broadcasting on all frequencies. Unknown vessels, this is Commander Hyun Day of the Human Defense Fleet. You are threatening coalition civilians. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. The response came quickly. The voice was feminine but wrong, like thousands of voices speaking in harmony. The Krell Queen mind itself was answering. Soft-bodied weaklings from a garden world. You are outnumbered, outgunned, and irrelevant. Retreat and we will consume you last. Day smiled without humor. We're from Earth, we don't retreat. He closed the channel and gave the order. All ships engage at will. Show them what Deathworlders can do. The human fleet accelerated directly into the Krell formation. No fancy maneuvers, no elaborate tactics. Just direct aggressive assault. It was insane by coalition standards. It was perfectly human. The Krell ships responded with their own attack, biological weapons firing streams of acid and razor-sharp projectiles. But human ships were built for punishment. Their armor held. Their shields absorbed impacts that would have destroyed alien vessels. Taiyang led his fighter squadron into the thick of the battle. G-forces pressed him into his seat as he pulled maneuvers that would have killed most alien pilots. The human body could withstand up to 9 Gs regularly. Coalition species blacked out at 3. Break left, Bora shouted over the radio. Taiyang yanked his stick, spinning his fighter through a gap between 2 Krell ships. His weapons fired, and one of the biological vessels shuddered and died. 1 down. Who's keeping score? The battle was chaos. Human ships traded broadsides with Krell vessels at ranges that made coalition tacticians weep. Several human ships were damaged, their hulls scarred and burned, but they kept fighting. Then the Krell tried boarding tactics. Biological pods shot out from their ships, attaching to human vessels like parasites. The pods burned through armor and released Krell warriors inside. That was their mistake. On the Indomitable, alarms blared as Krell breached the hull near engineering. Day sent the Marines immediately. Repel boarders. No mercy. The Krell warriors were terrifying to look at. They had 6 legs, sharp mandibles, and armor made from their own carapaces. They moved fast and hit hard. Against most coalition species, they were unstoppable. But human Marines had trained for boarding actions their entire careers. And humans had one advantage the Krell hadn't expected. Humans got angry. The firefight in engineering was brutal. Krell warriors fell to gunfire, but more kept coming. When one Marine ran out of ammunition, he drew his combat knife and charged. The Krell warrior was bigger, but the human was from a death world. The fight was short and savage. The human won. Throughout the ship, similar scenes played out. Krell boarders learned that humans fought when injured. They fought through pain. They fought with creativity and rage that no hive mind could understand. On the bridge, Day monitored the overall battle. His fleet was holding, but barely. 3 ships were heavily damaged. Casualties were mounting. But the Krell were suffering worse. Their coordination was breaking down as human ships targeted command vessels. "Target that cruiser," Day ordered, pointing at a large Krell ship, all forward batteries. The Indomitable fired, and the Krell cruiser exploded in a burst of biological matter. After 3 hours of fighting, the battle ended. The human fleet had destroyed or driven off 214 Krell ships. 3 human vessels were crippled but survivable. Casualties numbered in the hundreds but not thousands. On the planet below, 2.3 billion Quarren civilians were safe. Dr. Jiwoo worked in the medical bay, treating wounded Marines. Many had injuries that would have killed coalition soldiers: broken bones, deep wounds, burns. But humans healed. Their bodies fought to survive with a determination that matched their spirits. One Marine, bleeding from a dozen cuts, refused to lie down. "Doc, I'm fine. Just patch me up and get me back to my squad." "You have 3 broken ribs and a concussion," Jiwoo said firmly. "You're staying here. The Krell will attack again. They need every fighter." Jiwoo looked at him with sad eyes. "And if everyone fights until they die, who's left to protect the next world? Rest, heal, you've done enough." On Unity 7 station, Ambassador Hana watched the battle reports with the Coalition Council. When the final numbers came through, Ixthar looked at her with something new in his eyes. Not fear, respect. The news of the Tertius victory spread across Coalition space faster than light. For the first time in 3 centuries, warfare had come to the peaceful galaxy. And for the first time, people were talking about humans differently. Dr. Jiwoo stood in the medical center on Tertius, working alongside Quarren doctors. The small reptilian aliens had been terrified of her at first, but now they watched her with curiosity instead of fear. "How long can you work without rest?" one Quarren doctor asked. His name was Piplik, and he had 3 small children waiting for him at home. Children who were alive because humans had fought. Jiwoo checked her watch. She had been on duty for 36 hours straight, treating both human and alien wounded. "I can go another 12 hours if needed." "Human endurance is different." "I would have collapsed 20 hours ago," Piplik admitted. "I am grateful you are here, not just for your strength but for your care. You treat our people as gently as your own." A young Quarren child approached nervously, barely reaching Jiwoo's waist. She held a small drawing in her hands. "Are you one of the Deathworlders?" the child asked, her voice tiny. Jiwoo knelt down to be at eye level. "I am. My name is Jiwoo. My name is Piptic. My daddy says you saved us. He says humans are scary but also nice." She held out the drawing. It showed stick figures of humans and Quarren standing together. "I made this for you." Jiwoo felt tears in her eyes. She took the drawing carefully. "Thank you, Piptic. This is beautiful. Can I ask you something? Are you still scared of humans?" The little girl thought about it seriously. "A little bit. But my daddy says the strong should protect the weak. He says that's what makes someone a hero instead of a monster. Are you a hero?" "I try to be," Jiwoo said softly. On Unity 7 station, Ambassador Hana sat in the emergency council meeting. The atmosphere was completely different from their last gathering. The council members were listening, really listening for the first time. Commander Day's hologram stood in the center of the room. Behind him, tactical displays showed the approaching Krell main fleet. The numbers were terrifying. Over 1,000 ships all converging on Coalition space. "We can't win by fighting alone," Day said bluntly. "My fleet is strong, but we're not miracle workers. We need support from the Coalition." "We have no military," Ixthar said. "What can we offer?" "Information," Day replied. "The Velthir have the best sensor technology in the galaxy. We need real-time intelligence on Krell movements. The Ashanti have the largest manufacturing stations. We need ammunition supplies and ship repairs. The Quarren have detailed biological databases. We need to understand Krell physiology better." An Ashanti council member named Voran spoke up. "You will have it, all of it. We may not be warriors, but we will contribute however we can." A new voice interrupted. "I can help coordinate." A Korean woman in a Coalition uniform stepped forward. Her name was Subin, and she had served in Coalition intelligence for 7 years. She was one of the few humans who worked directly with alien organizations. "I know both human military protocols and Coalition resource networks. Let me handle logistics and integration." Day studied her. "You're volunteering?" "Someone needs to build the bridge," Subin said. "Might as well be me." Over the next few days, something remarkable happened. Coalition species began working with humans not out of fear, but out of necessity and growing respect. Velthir engineers boarded human ships to install advanced sensors. Ashanti workers loaded ammunition and supplies while human marines showed them how the weapons functioned. Quarren scientists shared their biological data with human researchers. Lieutenant Taeyang found himself in an unusual position. He had been assigned to train Coalition volunteers who wanted to help in combat roles. It was not going well. No, Taeyang shouted as an Ashanti volunteer named Vortel tried to lift a standard human rifle. The weapon was too heavy for the alien. "You're going to hurt yourself." Vortel set the rifle down, breathing hard. "I want to help. I want to fight like you." "You can't fight like me," Taeyang said, then softened his tone. "But that doesn't mean you can't fight. Look, humans are built for this because Earth tried to kill us for millions of years. You're built different. That's not weakness, it's just difference. We need to find what you're good at." Over the next week, Taeyang worked with 30 Coalition volunteers. He learned that Ashanti had excellent aim despite their lower strength. He learned that Quarren had faster reflexes than humans. He learned that Velthir could operate in zero gravity better than any human pilot. "Stop trying to be human," Taeyang told them. "Be yourselves, but armed." Vortel proved to be a natural with ship weapons. He couldn't carry a rifle, but put him at a gun console and his aim was perfect. During a training exercise, he destroyed 3 target drones in rapid succession. "How did you do that?" Taeyang asked, impressed. "Ashanti evolved as ambush hunters," Vortel explained. "We are patient and precise. We may not be strong like humans, but we do not miss." Taeyang grinned. "You're hired." But not everyone was optimistic. In her lab, Dr. Jiwoo was studying the Krell biology samples they had recovered from the Tertius battle. The more she learned, the more worried she became. She called Commander Day urgently. "Sir, I found something. The Krell are adapting. Adapting how?" Jiwoo displayed her findings. "The Krell we fought at Tertius were standard soldiers. But our scans show the newer ships have different biological signatures. They're developing specific countermeasures against humans. Biotoxins designed to target human regeneration, sonic weapons calibrated to human hearing ranges. They're learning from our tactics. How fast can they adapt?" Based on these samples, very fast. The hive mind shares information instantly. Every battle teaches them more about us, Day felt cold. So we're training our enemy while we fight them. Worse than that, Jiwoo said. I think the Queen Mind sees humans as prizes. We're not just enemies to her. We're valuable. If she could capture humans, control them, use them as weapons, she'd have Deathworld soldiers serving the hive. Day finished. The thought was nightmare fuel. The fear proved justified 2 weeks later. Sub-Commander Yuna burst onto the bridge with urgent news. Commander, we're picking up distress calls from the Daedalus Nebula. 3 Coalition evacuation ships are under attack. Show me, Day ordered. The tactical display showed the situation. 3 unarmed civilian ships carrying refugees were surrounded by a Krell force, but the numbers didn't match predictions. That's over 400 Krell ships, Day said. Our intelligence said this sector should only have a small patrol. It's a trap, Yuna said. They're using the civilians as bait. Taeyang looked at Day. If we go in, we're outnumbered 8-1. And if we don't? Day asked quietly. No one answered. They all knew what happened to civilians captured by the Krell. All ships, Day ordered. Jump to Daedalus Nebula. Full combat readiness, the human fleet jumped into hell. The nebula's interference made sensors unreliable. Krell ships appeared from clouds of gas firing immediately. The trap closed with brutal efficiency. The Indomitable took heavy fire. Explosions rocked the ship. Day was thrown from his chair as a blast tore through the forward section. He felt his ribs crack but pushed the pain aside. Pain was just information. Information could be ignored. Status. He shouted, forward shields down. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. Casualty reports coming in. The officer's voice was steady despite the chaos. Humans didn't panic. Dr. Jiwoo rushed onto the bridge. Commander, you're injured. You need medical attention. Later, Day said, pulling himself back into his chair. Every breath hurt. He tasted blood. I need to command this fleet. You'll pass out from internal bleeding. Then I'll pass out in my chair. Day pulled up the tactical display. His fleet was fighting desperately. 2 ships were crippled. The evacuation ships were still in danger. We need to break through to those civilians. Jiwoo grabbed a medical kit and started treating him right there on the bridge. She injected painkillers and wound sealant while Day continued giving orders. You're the most stubborn man I've ever met, she muttered. It's a Deathworlder thing, Day replied through gritted teeth. We don't know when to quit. The battle raged for 3 hours. Human ships fought with desperate courage. Taeyang's fighter squadron flew directly through a Krell formation, taking incredible risks to draw fire away from the evacuees. Bora's fighter was hit, her canopy cracked, but she kept flying. Then something unexpected happened. New ships appeared on the sensors. Small ships, poorly armed but numerous. They weren't Krell. They were Coalition volunteers. Subin's voice came over the radio. Human fleet, this is Coalition Support Group. We're here to help. Fortel was commanding one of the volunteer ships. His voice was tight with fear but determined. We cannot let you fight alone. Not anymore. The Coalition ships weren't powerful. Their weapons barely scratched Krell armor. But they provided distraction. They drew fire. They gave the human fleet the breathing room needed to reach the evacuation ships. Get those civilians out of here, Day ordered. The evacuation ships jumped to safety just as the human fleet began their retreat. 7 human ships were heavily damaged. Over 1,000 humans were dead or wounded. But they had saved 180,000 Coalition civilians, and they hadn't fought alone. Unity 7 Station had become a fortress. Every available ship from both human and Coalition forces gathered around the massive diplomatic station. It was the symbolic heart of Coalition space, and everyone knew the Krell would target it. Commander Day stood in the station's war room, studying the tactical displays. His ribs were still healing from the Daedalus battle, but he refused to rest. Around him, human officers and Coalition coordinators worked side by side. The numbers were brutal. The human fleet was down to 37 functional ships. Many were damaged. The Coalition volunteers added another 60 ships, but most were civilian vessels with improvised weapons. Against the incoming Krell armada of 1,200 ships, they were hopelessly outnumbered. Ambassador Hana entered the war room. She looked tired. For the past 2 days, she had been walking the station's corridors, seeing something she had never witnessed before. Humans and aliens working together without fear. Velthir children asking human Marines to sign their data pads. Quarren families cooking meals for human pilots, Ashanti engineers and human technicians sharing jokes while they repaired ships. It's beautiful, isn't it? Hannah said quietly to Day. We finally broke through their fear. It only took an extinction-level threat. Better late than never, Day replied, but his voice was heavy. Though it might be too late. Dr. Jiwoo had been working non-stop in her lab. Now she burst into the war room with wild eyes and a data pad clutched in her hand. I found something. A possible way to win. Everyone stopped working. All eyes turned to her. The Krell hive mind, Jiwoo explained quickly. It operates through quantum-entangled pheromones. The Queen Mind sends signals to every Krell simultaneously. That's how they coordinate so perfectly. We know this, Day said. What's new? I can disrupt it. I've designed a quantum disruptor that will break the pheromone link. If we can get it within 500 meters of the Queen Mind herself, the entire fleet will lose coordination. Sub-Commander Yuna looked at the specifications. That's inside the Krell super capital ship. The Brood Throne. Yes, Jiwoo confirmed. The Queen Mind never leaves her ship. It's a bioorganic vessel the size of a small moon. Getting to her means boarding it, fighting through miles of hostile territory and surviving long enough to activate the disruptor. Taeyang let out a low whistle. That's a suicide mission. Probably, Jiwoo admitted. But it's the only way. Even if we win the space battle, which we won't, the Krell will just regroup and attack again. We need to cut off the head. Day studied the data. She was right. This was their only chance. How many people for the strike team? 50 should be enough. Small enough to move fast, large enough to handle resistance. I'll lead it, Taeyang said immediately. Lieutenant, you're still recovering from Daedalus, Day said. So are you, Commander. But you're not planning to sit this out, are you? Taeyang met his eyes. I'm the best pilot we have. I can get them there. Subin stepped forward. I'm going too. Everyone looked at her in surprise. She was a logistics coordinator, not a combat soldier. You need someone who understands coalition technology, Subin said firmly. The disruptor uses Veltir quantum processors and Ashanti power cells. If something breaks, you'll need me to fix it. Besides, someone should represent the coalition on this mission. We're in this together now. Day didn't have to ask for volunteers. Within an hour, every human Marine had submitted their name. He selected 50 of the best, including Taeyang and Subin. The briefing was simple. 3 modified assault shuttles would make a high-speed run at the Brood Throne during the main battle. Their only job was to punch through the bioorganic hull and get the team inside. After that, the team would be on their own. Vortel approached Taeyang before the mission. The Ashanti volunteer looked small next to the human, but his voice was steady. I wish I could go with you. Someone needs to help coordinate the defense, Taeyang said. That's you. Use that perfect aim to keep the Krell off our backs. Will I see you again? Taeyang grinned, but it didn't reach his eyes. We're Deathworlders. We're too stubborn to die. The Krell armada arrived like a plague. 1,200 ships emerged from slipspace in a perfect formation. The Brood Throne appeared last, a massive organic horror that looked like a diseased moon. Biomatter and metal fused together in ways that hurt to look at. The Queen Mind's voice broadcast across all channels. Your Deathworlders will make excellent slaves. We will break them. We will breed them. Your pets will become our weapons. Commander Day sat in his chair on the Indomitable's bridge. His ribs hurt. He was tired. He was scared. But when he responded, his voice was rock steady. You made 2 mistakes. First, you threatened our allies. Second, you threatened us. Humans don't break. He closed the channel and gave the order. All ships engage. The Battle of Unity 7 began with a roar. Human ships charged directly into the Krell formation, firing everything they had. Coalition volunteer ships followed, adding their smaller weapons to the barrage. It was like watching waves crash against a cliff. The human fleet fought with insane bravery, but the numbers were impossible. For every Krell ship destroyed, 2 more took its place. On the Indomitable's bridge, explosion after explosion rocked the ship. Forward shields at 30%, an officer shouted. Hull breaches on multiple decks. Keep firing, Day ordered calmly. We just need to buy time. Because while the battle raged, 3 small shuttles were making their run toward the Brood Throne. Taeyang flew the lead shuttle. The G-forces pressed everyone into their seats as he dodged through the battlefield. Krell fighters swarmed around them. Hold on to something, he shouted. The shuttle spun, twisted, and dove. Taiyang's hands moved faster than thought. One Krell fighter exploded, then another. But there were too many. The second shuttle took a direct hit. It exploded in a ball of fire. 18 Marines died in an instant. We're not going to make it, someone shouted. Yes, we are, Taiyang growled. He pushed the engines beyond safety limits. The shuttle screamed in protest but accelerated. The brood throne loomed ahead, massive and terrible. The third shuttle was hit and spiraled out of control. Only Taiyang's shuttle remained, carrying 23 Marines and Subin. 30 seconds to impact, Taiyang announced. Everyone brace. The shuttle hit the brood throne's hull like a bullet. Shaped charges detonated, tearing through bioorganic armor. The shuttle buried itself deep inside the living ship. Then everything went black. Taiyang woke up coughing. Smoke filled the ruined shuttle. Around him, Marines were pulling themselves up, checking weapons, helping wounded comrades. They had survived the crash. Barely. Sound off, he ordered. 21 combat effective, 2 wounded, someone reported. 2 Marines had died in the crash. Subin was bleeding from a cut on her head, but she was already checking the disruptor. The device is intact. But we need to move. This ship's immune system will attack us soon. They weren't wrong. The walls around them started moving, secreting acid and growing sharp spines. The brood throne knew it had been infected. The team moved fast. The interior of the brood throne was like being inside a living creature. The walls pulsed. The floor was soft and organic. The air burned their lungs with every breath. Then the Krell defenders arrived. Warriors poured from passages in the walls, mandibles clicking, 6 legs moving with terrible speed. The fight was immediate and brutal. Gunfire echoed through organic tunnels. Marines fell. But for every human who died, 5 Krell fell. Deathworlders didn't give up ground easily. Subin ran while the Marines fought, following the disruptor's sensors toward the Queen Mind's chamber. Taiyang and 10 Marines formed a protective bubble around her. They ran through miles of living corridors. Marines died holding doorways so the team could advance. A man named Hosung stood alone against 20 Krell warriors, giving his squad time to escape. He killed 7 before they overwhelmed him. A woman named Unji was wounded badly but kept moving. I can still shoot, she gasped. Leave me at the next corner. I'll slow them down. She did. She bought them 3 minutes before she died. By the time they reached the Queen Mind's chamber, only 11 Marines remained. Taiyang, Subin, and 9 others, all wounded, all exhausted, all determined. The Queen Mind's chamber was vast. The Queen herself was enormous, a bioorganic intelligence the size of a building. Thousands of smaller Krell protected her, forming a living wall. We'll never make it through, someone said. We don't need to make it through, Subin said. We just need to get the disruptor within 500 meters. That's here. She started activating the device. The Krell charged. The final fight was desperate. Marines formed a circle around Subin, firing until their weapons ran dry. When the guns were empty, they drew knives. When the knives broke, they used their fists. Taiyang fought 3 Krell warriors at once. He was stabbed through the shoulder, then through the leg, then through the chest. But humans don't die easily. He stayed on his feet, kept fighting, kept buying time. Almost there, Subin shouted. Her fingers flew over the controls. Around her, Marines were falling one by one. Just 10 more seconds. 5 seconds. 3 Marines left standing. 3 seconds. 2 Marines, 1 second. Only Taiyang remained, bleeding from a dozen wounds, holding the line with nothing but a broken combat knife and pure stubbornness. 3 weeks had passed since the Battle of Unity 7. The Krell threat was over. Without the Queen Mind's control, the remaining Krell forces had fragmented into small groups. They were no longer an empire, just scattered survivors that could be contained. But the victory had cost dearly. 23 human ships were destroyed or damaged beyond repair. 4,732 humans had died. Each name was read aloud at the memorial service held on Unity 7. It took 6 hours to read them all. Every alien delegate attended. Many wept. Commander Day stood at the memorial wall where the names were engraved. His ribs had healed. His body had recovered. But the weight of every lost life pressed on his shoulders. Ambassador Hana stood beside him. You saved billions, she said quietly. I lost thousands, Day replied. Every one of them had families, dreams, futures. They died as heroes. They died doing what was right. That's not the same as being happy about it. Day touched one name on the wall. Ho-sung, the Marine who had held a doorway alone so his squad could advance. But they would do it again. That's what makes us human. The station had changed. Everywhere Day walked, he saw humans and aliens working together without fear. Velthir engineers explained their sensor technology to human technicians. Ashanti children played with human kids in the recreation areas. Quarren families invited human Marines to dinner. The walls built from 3 centuries of fear were crumbling. Dr. Jiwoo worked in the medical center, treating the last of the wounded. Lieutenant Taeyang sat on a bed, his chest wrapped in bandages. He had been stabbed through vital organs and should have died. But his body had healed with a speed that amazed even human doctors. "When can I return to duty?" Taeyang asked. "Never, if I have my way," Jiwoo said with a smile. "But realistically? 2 more weeks. You need to let those internal injuries finish healing. I feel fine. You feel fine because I have you on enough painkillers to knock out an Ashanti. Trust me, you're not fine yet." Vortel entered the medical center carrying a small package. The Ashanti volunteer had become friends with Taeyang during the training sessions. "I brought you something from my home world," Vortel said. "It is tradition to give gifts to warriors who survive great battles." Inside the package was a small carved stone. It depicted a human and an Ashanti standing side by side. "I made this myself," Vortel said, "to remember what we learned. That strength comes in many forms and true victory comes from standing together." Taeyang held the carving carefully. "Thank you. I'll keep this forever." Subin had been working non-stop since the battle. As the new Coordinator General of Coalition Defense Integration, her job was to build the framework for the galaxy's first unified military force. Human expertise combined with Coalition resources. She sat in a meeting room with representatives from 15 species. On the displays were designs for new ships, training protocols, and defense strategies. "The key is not making everyone fight like humans," Subin explained. "It's using each species' strengths. Velthir sensors can detect threats light years away. Ashanti aim is incredible at long range. Quarren reflexes are faster than human in zero-gravity environments. We build a force where everyone contributes what they do best." An Ashanti engineer asked, "And humans? What is your role in this combined force?" Subin smiled. "We do what we always do. The jobs that are too dangerous for anyone else. The last stands. The desperate fights. We're Deathworlders. Let us handle the death so others can live." The Coalition Council called an emergency session. Every delegate was present. But unlike previous meetings, there was no fear in the chamber. Only respect. Ambassador Hana stood in the center of the room. But this time she was not asking for anything. She was there to listen. Council leader Ixthar stood to speak. The Velthir who had once trembled at the sight of humans now spoke with steady voice. "The Coalition owes humanity a debt we can never fully repay. You saved not just our lives but our entire civilization. We called you Deathworlders as an insult. We saw only your strength and feared it. We were blind to your character, your compassion, your willingness to sacrifice for others." Other delegates stood, adding their voices. "The Quarren people thank humanity for protecting our children. The Ashanti offer friendship and alliance to Earth. The Velthir apologize for our fear and prejudice." Ixthar continued. "We wish to make several proposals. First, humanity will be granted full Coalition membership with 0 restrictions. All trade routes, all territories, all rights and privileges." The vote was unanimous. Second, we ask humanity to help establish and lead the Galactic Defense Fleet. We need protectors who understand what it means to defend the weak. Again, unanimous approval. Third, we formally recognize that the word Deathworlder is not an insult. It is a badge of honor. It represents not just strength, but the choice to use that strength for good. The chamber erupted in approval. Delegates from 20 species stood and applauded. Ambassador Hana felt tears on her cheeks. After 47 years of rejection, humanity was finally accepted. Not despite being Deathworlders, but because of it. 6 months passed. The changes were remarkable. Unity 7 Station added a new section called the Memorial Gardens. It was a place of peace where every species could remember those lost in the battle. Human Marines often visited to pay respects to their fallen comrades. Alien families came to thank them. Little Piptik, the Quarren child who had given Dr. Jiwoo a drawing, visited every week. She would sit by the memorial and talk to the names on the wall. telling them about her life. "I'm studying to be a doctor," she told the names one day. "Just like Jiwoo, I want to help people too." The Coalition Military Academy opened on Unity 7. Human instructors taught alongside alien professors. Students from a dozen species trained together. The first graduating class would be a mix of humans and aliens who saw each other not as different species, but as comrades. Commander Day had retired from active fleet duty. He accepted a position as chief instructor at the academy. His first lesson to every new class was simple. Strength without compassion is tyranny. Compassion without strength is helplessness. You must have both. The strong protect the weak. That is not a burden. That is purpose. Young recruits from every species listened. They saw the scars on Day's face and knew he had earned the right to teach. Dr. Jiwoo established the Joint Medical Research Institute. Humans shared their knowledge of regenerative medicine. Aliens contributed their advanced surgical techniques. Together they made breakthroughs that helped all species. One day a Velther doctor asked Jiwoo, "Why do humans heal so fast? What is the secret?" Jiwoo smiled. "There's no secret. We come from a world that kept trying to kill us. Our bodies learned to fight back. Evolution made us survivors, but survival is not enough. We choose to help others survive too. That's what makes us human." Lieutenant Tai Yang returned to active duty. He led a new fighter squadron made up of both human and alien pilots. During training exercises, he was tough but fair. He expected excellence from everyone, regardless of species. Vortel joined his squadron as a weapons officer. Together, they became the Academy's best instructor team, proving that humans and aliens could work perfectly together. The new Galactic Defense Fleet launched with 47 joint human coalition ships. Each vessel had mixed crews. Humans served alongside Veltir, Ashanti, Quarren, and others. The old fears were gone, replaced by trust earned in battle. 1 year after the Battle of Unity 7, a new ceremony was held. The Coalition unveiled a massive monument in the center of the station. It showed humans and aliens standing together, protecting civilians behind them. The inscription was written in Korean, English, and 20 alien languages. It read, "Here stood the Deathworlders. Here they chose to protect instead of conquer. Here they taught us that true strength lies in sacrifice, not domination. They came from the nightmare world and became our dream of heroes. Let this stand forever as a reminder that the strongest among us must also be the kindest." Ambassador Hana stood at the ceremony with Commander Day, Dr. Jiwoo, Lieutenant Tae-yang, Sub-Commander Yuna, and Coordinator General Subin. Around them were thousands of aliens who had come to honor the humans who saved them. Little Pip-Tik approached Ambassador Hana shyly. The Quarren child was bigger now, growing fast as her species did. "Ambassador Hana?" she asked. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course, dear. People say Earth is very dangerous. They say it has monsters and storms and diseases. Is that true?" "It's true," Hana confirmed. "Earth tried to kill us for millions of years. Then why are you so nice? I thought living with danger would make people mean and angry." Hana knelt down to look the child in the eyes. "Because we survived, we learned how precious life is. Because we fought monsters, we learned to recognize them. Because we came from a death world, we learned that the strong must protect the weak. We didn't become kind despite where we came from. We became kind because of it." She looked up at the monument, at the names of the fallen engraved in stone, at the humans and aliens standing together in the crowd. "We were called Deathworlders as an insult," Hana continued, "but now we wear it as a badge of honor. Because Deathworlders don't just survive, we make sure others survive too. That's what makes us human. And now that's what makes us friends."